that probably comes from lack of understanding from the whole system. And then, I think that there's going to still be a lot of pushback because since it is electric, and if you're going to charge at your home, then that's, increasing your electric bill.
Sure.
And I would assume that charging your vehicle would be, I will equate this to something that I'm familiar with like in the wintertime in my little mudroom entryway, pretty decent size. I usually put a space heater out there in the winter. And I'll turn it on the lowest temperature. I don't need it to get to like 80 degrees, but just to kind of warm it up, get the chill out the air. But that raises my electric bill quite a bit. Just having that out there, kind of like
what do you think it raises your electric bill? Maybe $1 a day. So maybe $30 over the month.
Possibly, maybe at the low point, something like that.
Okay.
I know that maybe not be. That's probably not a good equivalent because depending on how often you're charging and how long you're charging your vehicle at your home, but.
So the car I really want is the Tesla Model 3 Performance. And I believe the battery pack it's got in it is a 82 kilowatt battery pack. And one of my neighbors, again, this is just misinformation, stuff in the news. For some reason, it's politicized. So you hear all these negative things. And he heard me say I want an electric car. And he goes, I heard those things aren't any cheaper to fuel than a gas car. And I said, well, where'd you hear that? And he told me, one of his buddies told him that that's the case. And I was like, well, if you use one of those electric chargers, that's maybe in a grocery parking lot or whatever, it can be almost as expensive. And he's like, see? So it's not like the savings they're talking about. And I'm like, well, no, that's not really true. I'm like, think about it like this. Like my car goes about 350 miles on a full tank of gas. Right now with current gas prices, it costs about $55 to fill it. If I had an electric car that was an equivalent of that, like the car that I want, to charge it on a charger that's in some parking lot or wherever out by a grocery store or whatever, that could run in the neighborhood of about $40. So 55 compared to 40, it's a little cheaper, but it's not the savings that everyone's talking about.
Right.
But now here's where the savings that everyone's talking about comes into play. After we had that conversation, I looked up on my electric bill to find out how much I'm paying for electricity. And I pay 10.8 cents a kilowatt. So, what's the math on that? I don't have a calculator. Oh, no, here's one.
Okay.
So if we do 10.8 times 82, or I should say 0.1008 times 82, that's $8.85. Now,
you said $8.80?
$8.85, yeah.
Okay.
Now, that's under the assumption that the transfer of power from your house to your car is perfect and it has no losses. But that's not actually reality. You're going to have a little bit of losses. You're going to have some loss when the batteries heat up. Little things like that will happen. So let's say, just for argument's sake, it's already, I already said $8.85. So let's say it's $9, and then let's account for losses. It's called $10. So $10 to go just as far as my current car goes on $55.
Okay.
See, so there is a massive savings. So it is more costly to buy the car. In some cases, there are some cheaper electric cars out there, like the Chevy Bolt and things like that. But there's also no oil changes, no air filters.
But what are those repairs going to cost in the long run? So say that obviously there's no.
Well, there's less moving parts on an electric car, so there's less things to break.
Yeah. But you still have things that can break.
True.
So what are those looking like? Is that something that people are looking into? Because
I would say that right now it's probably more expensive just because there's not as many. But when it becomes the norm, I bet you it'll be just as expensive as car repairs right now.
Okay. Yeah.
But at least that's my assumption.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm just, throwing things out there. But yeah,
Sure.
I mean, I agree because I'm sure that we saw the same things with vehicles as they evolved. You know,
I mean, we're kind of really at the beginning of these, you know?
right. So yeah, it's a good point, and it's really just for a lot of people to get on board is for one, like you said, you mentioned the politicization of the electric vehicle. So
Right.
getting past that would be the number one thing, and then kind of looking in depth in weighing the pros and cons.